Hello and welcome to Shuffling Notes. This is a channel where we discuss music quite intensely, and we also have worked. I mean, we work on listening to music days and nights, and working on this days and nights, and it it really becomes like quite difficult. Something like of a hard day's night.
Hey, nice.
If I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true and help me?
I'm your co-host for this episode, Razi.
And I'm your co host, Prankit.
And we will be discussing the Beatles' third album from 1964, which is Hard Day's Night. And the name was given by one of the members, who is Ringo Starr, and it was like it. The name was as explained in different articles and even their documentary. Is like an you know like an impromptu sort of naming convention that he just came up with because they had just worked a few, I think 1 2 days and 2 nights straight off, and Ringo Starr came out of it and he just said it's been a hard day and a hard night, and
Yeah, I
then they
was
were
just,
just
just
like,
to add
it's a
to
hard
that.
day's night.
Yeah, just to add to
Yeah.
that, I think in one of the interviews, I think what it was like, he didn't realize it was night already. And I think they walked out and he was like, "Oh,
Yes.
it's been a
Yes,
hard day."
because
And
when
then he was like,
when they
"Night."
walked out, it was dark,
Yeah,
and when they went in, it was day, and
yeah,
it was just that. I mean, basically, like the situation created the name of the album,
yeah. I mean,
and
these guys were like, I guess, always
awesome.
having fun and like bouncing ideas off each other and things. So like, I can quite
I
easily picture
think,
like Ringo just
uh,
saying
I,
something and the rest being like, "Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
that's."
I think I would rather. There's a there's a perfect name which Don McLean uses in
Mm-hmm,
his American Pie, which is the
mm-hmm.
quartet. I
Uh-huh.
think this is the quartet.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's
mm-hmm,
there's no other way to explain these this
yeah.
group of four together. And yeah, so most of this album was uh, written by John Lennon, and also, well, there are many songs. So it's Paul McCartney and John Lennon coming together,
Mm-hmm.
and also building the music together. And I mean, there are songs which they felt to be different, but it came out to be different, and I mean, it was confusing. But there's one theme that I noticed in the album, which which might be something or might not be something by the end of it. Is that all of these are on a general theme of working, making money, and making your love happy. And
Yeah,
it's the songs are in both, like in a story format as well as in a like to the lover,
yeah,
like
yeah,
for the lover
yeah,
format.
yeah.
So I just found that very interesting.
I
Like
think, yeah,
there are
and I think
some
you're
songs
onto
like this, some
something
songs
because,
like that.
like, yeah, this being like their third studio album, I think this was the point where they were like touring a lot, so they were like away from their partners and families, right? And they were working
That
hard, and
yes.
they were still trying to at least maintain their relationship, especially like John Lennon. So I think they're
Mhm.
definitely onto something. That I think some of that has reflected into this album, and I think as we go track by track, I guess we can dive into it deeper.
So there's just I mean, I think I mean, I've heard a lot of the Beatles. When was the first time you heard of the Beatles, actually?
Well, I mean, being in the UK, like I don't know when was the first time. I've always heard of Beatles, but I
Oh,
think what's
yeah.
interesting is I always heard their songs, and this especially like their more popular songs and albums,
Mhm.
right? But I've never actually like sat down and like really listened to their music, like a whole album back to back. Because I've always just heard like the top songs that people always play at parties and things, but this was like my first experience actually like
Mhm.
sitting down to listen to the Beatles and going through a whole album as well as the movie. Um,
Talking about the movie,
yeah,
so they came out with a movie titled Hard Day's Night,
yeah,
and that movie is like, I think 36 hours of them of the life of the Beatles.
Yeah.
And I think so. I read first. I watched the movie like completely blank.
Yeah.
What the movie is about, what's happening in the movie, or
That
what's
would
to
have been an
happen.
interesting experience. Yeah.
And then so I had this very gentleman perception, I think, which is quite a general perception of the Beatles. Like, they're the very gentlemen people coming in suits playing on stage.
Yeah.
And so that's so I always felt, these are those proper hoity-toity, maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
these British
Yeah.
folks coming together. And the purpose of the movie was to show the other sides of these four people, and I think it showed it perfectly, because that's exactly what I perceived out of the
Yeah.
movie. But it's when
Yeah.
I
I
read
mean,
the interviews that
yeah.
that was the purpose of the movie. And also because besides being promotional, it was a lot of fun for them to create
Mhm.
this, because
It definitely looked like it.
again
Yeah.
they basically came out with 4 albums in 2 years.
Mhm.
And this was their third album, and this came out with the movie. And so basically 4 albums, they recorded 4 albums,
Yeah.
wrote them, made the music,
Yeah.
and made a movie
Yeah.
in like the span of 2 or 3 years.
Another point about this album is that I think this was their first album, which was sort of entirely original compositions. Sort of all the songs were actually written by Lennon and McCartney, which I don't believe was the case in the first two albums. But and I guess one other thing is this is their third album, but if you actually look at their discography, there's like 5 or 6 albums. And it's basically because they had like each album had like a US version and then like sometimes a Canadian version. I mean, even this Hard Day's Night has a US version, which has a different track listing to what
It
we.
also got so
Yeah.
there are songs which released in parts. Like the album wasn't released as whole in the
Yeah.
beginning in 64. I think in 65 it released in the US.
Interesting.
That's a
Yeah.
song which I've mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
But about the movie, so there are these tidbits in the movie. So remember the scene where it's like a aerial view of them in the
Field.
helipad area.
Yeah, they're in like a field
Yeah,
running
and-
around. Is that the one?
And then
Yeah.
just running around. And
Yeah.
so John Lennon is actually, there's a body double.
Because I was wondering, because
yeah.
some of the shots they only showed the three of them, and I was like, "Where's the fourth guy?"
So they've shown close-up shots of John Lennon, which were shot later. So
Yeah.
John Lennon was on his book tour,
see.
which I think the book is called Own Right, in his own right, Lennon in his own right.
Interesting.
And that's also where he's used. That's also like some inspiration for his songs, for the songs that we will come across. And also, like, when the deal was made to make the movie, so the Beatles weren't sure if they'll be a hit internationally, because
Yeah.
they were going to release it internationally. But they also, by the time they got to the release of the movie, they sort of got like they boomed and they were famous, but they still got so they could have shot the movie in color, but they shot
Yeah.
it in black and white, because that was the original plan, and they stuck to it, even
Yeah.
though they had more budget and more stuff to do. But they thought, like, let's stick to that modest budget that they started out with.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's one more. So the title is A Hard Day's Night, which is also the first track of the album.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog.
So
So I think the song is like a perfect rock and roll example. Like coming straight out, the first track being Hard Day's Night, and the way it begins to that how do I explain, like that I mean, there's a rock and roll feel in the song.
Yeah,
that,
this is definitely one of
you can't miss it.
yeah, and more sort of fast paced as well. But I think so. One of the things I wanted to point out as well was like the opening chord. So apparently this is like so supposed to be like one of the most discussed song openings of all time or something. Because apparently that chord he plays, it's like people have tried to like figure out how to make that sound. And I guess the trick to it is that you're also hearing McCartney's bass along with sort of the chord that's being played on the guitar, and it gives it that sort of unique opening. But it's like just off the bat, you know, it starts off in an unusual manner, so to speak. And I think
that chord is completely unusual. Yeah, and I think then the way they sort of enroll the whole music behind it is it really sort of fits into the whole scenario of that. It's kind of an off chord.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, I mean, it's like an open, like it's like two chords, like F and G sort of mixed. But I think in the song in general as well, I think it's got a rock and roll feel, as you were saying, but it's also very like blues-y. Like a lot of the songs, they're very like blues sort of in terms of like chord progressions and stuff. But an interesting thing is like the guitar that I think it's George Harrison that's playing. In a lot of the songs, he's playing that 12-string guitar. I think it's called like a Rickenbacker or something, which also like gives the sound, like it makes it more unique than just your like standard 6-string guitars or your standard like rock and roll sounds, right?
I mean, I didn't know that he was playing that
Rickenbacker, I think it's called. Yeah, I'm not sure how to pronounce it actually. It's the first time I came across this particular guitar, but yeah, it's very interesting, and I think it gives it that like blues sort of feel as well, I think. But there's definitely like rock and roll elements, right? Like they like before the solo, you know, they scream. There's like some of that in there, and it's an interesting sort of combination of different sounds.
Even at there's 1:30 at 1:30 there's like a short guitar solo which is I mean, it's not really a guitar solo, but it's kind of, I mean, the guitar stands out, but I don't know, it's got a weird hook to it, which also kind of acts as a bridge, because this song is like written in a, so this is John Lennon's writing this one, which, and he wanted this like in the more pop music category, so hence we sort of get that. And I think it's called a glissando. Do you know that?
No.
It's a glissando, which the so that's a glissando, and so also something I read is that the melody is also resembles something of an Irish folk song, which is called Donal Og, Donal Og. And it's got pentatonic and those small glissandos, and also this glissando, like similar glissandos, are also found in another song, which
So what is inspired from. What is a glissando like?
It's that it's the elongating of the note, which is the hard days. So basically is the glissando.
You hold on to the note. Interesting. But yeah, I think it's a fun song. I mean, I think there's also like bongos and I think there's like a clapper or a cowbell or whatever, right? They play that really like brings up the pace in the chorus, but it's like this mix of like, you know, different sounding instruments and, you know, the voice, because I know like I think Lennon sang sort of the major part of the song while McCartney sings like the higher notes, right? But there's like this nasally sounding effect to the voice, which also makes it sound very like delicate, you know, like. And it's like he's got like that. It makes it sound really soft and delicate, like parts of the lyrics.
Melodious. I think. There's the parts which get melodious, while there are parts which are like blunt.
Yeah, I think it's that effect of like the singing and then that voice acting element in the singing of like singing it in a different style or different voice, right? Almost like an accent.
I mean, again, it's like a mix of English and Irish folk music.
Hmm.
So as I think this is from the 17th century. The music is from the 17th century.
The
There's a
Irish one that you were
book
talking
by
about, yeah.
Albert Coleman
Hmm.
which mentions the a bit for this song, which says that it's like a mix of English and Irish folk from the
Hmm.
17th century. And yeah, so then we've got the next song, which so uh, coming back to Hard Day's Night, it's a story format. This song, so like I'll mention
Mm.
it each with each track as I
Yeah,
sort of noted that down as well.
yeah,
That this is a story format and this is like for the lover. So that I can have a balance that
hmm,
or a number of songs that this and this
yeah.
is that. So we'll just sort of explore it. So the next song is I Should Have Known Better.
I should have known better with a girl like you.
I felt that there's a questionable surprise element, which I mean, like the way he's like, I should have known better. Like there's a surprise element, but like you're loving me, but can you give me more love? So there's a request as well, and I mean, it's like a I don't know, it kind of entails a lot of how do I say, like a demand in love. And
Interesting.
I
Yeah,
think a lot of their songs
yeah,
have this demand in love. They're
yeah.
demanding love because they're ready to give it.
Mm.
And it's also shown in the movie, right? Like they're after girls
Hmm.
and they just sort of get love stricken by XYZ,
Hmm.
whoever they talk to. They're just like flirting with them and stuff. But yeah, what did you think of I Should Have
Yeah.
Known
Well, I
Better?
think first
With
of
a
all, I
girl
think
like
this
you?
song sort of like, yeah, I feel like this song kind of like picks up right where the first track ends. Like it sounds almost like in the same, at least in the beginning, right?
Hmm.
But like I think what stood out to me, which I really enjoy, is like the chorus of this song. It just feels so unique compared to like the verse. Like the way the music and sort of the notes change, it's like you're listening to two different songs, and that happens quite a bit in some of these album and some of these songs in this album.
Hmm.
But this one, especially like the first time when I was listening to it, I was like that really stood out. That sort of shifts a little, in the chorus. But yeah, I think it's definitely I think one of the most like positive sounding love songs in this album. There's quite a few actually.
I
Uh,
think the surprise part over here is that I saw is like it's like a perfect love story.
yeah.
And how could this happen to me?
Mhm.
Hey, hey, hey.
Yeah. um, yeah, and also interestingly, because I know it's Lennon singing this song, but in
Mhm.
the movie it's McCartney lip syncing
Yeah.
when they're like performing it. Because that sort of caught me off guard a little. I was like, let me go back and listen. Like, is it? And I was like, and I looked into it, and it was yeah, it is Lennon actually singing in the actual recording, and also on the
And
harmonica.
so McCartney used to initially be on the rhythm. There was
Hmm.
another uh,
Bassist, right, who
why
passed
yeah,
away.
there was
Yeah,
another bassist who left. They were in Germany. They were in
yeah,
Hamburg, I think.
yeah.
And that's when the bassist left the band to settle with his lover.
Oh, I thought the bassist passed away or
Um,
soming.
he did, but
Okay, he
after
did
he left the
also.
band,
Okay, okay.
he
Yeah,
did,
I
he
thought
did,
that was
and
him
he did in
leaving.
his 20s itself.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
after he had left the band and he
yeah.
had settled in Germany.
But yeah, I guess that part about the harmonica again, it goes back, right? Like in the first track, they've got that clapper or cowbell, and you've got the 12-string guitar and everything. And even here now, you've got the harmonica. Like each of the tracks, I think they stand out from like
Hmm.
your regular, I guess, rock and roll sounds, right? Either they have like a blues feel, like they have something extra. So it's almost like, I think with a lot of these tracks and this album, and I guess the Beatles in general, they're not necessarily like adhering to like one genre or like this is the musical style. They're just going with whatever musical style they come up with for each track, right?
So there's another thing about the name the Beatles.
Yeah.
Talking about they coming up with their own thing in each track. John Lennon loves or loved puns, so hence the name is Beatles,
I
and it's
see.
not Beetles,
Yeah,
even
yeah,
though
yeah.
they had the hair like the
Yeah,
Beatles.
yeah, yeah.
But it's
It's like
because that's
Beatles.
beat. So
Yeah,
because he loved puns, that
yeah,
so they, I'm forgetting. So there are two groups before. One is the Crickets, and
yeah.
forgetting the other one. So they inspired their name from these two groups, and
Yeah.
uh, then John Lennon just sort of played around with the beat.
Interesting.
So that
Yeah,
just adding to the factor that you're saying that
yeah,
that they're creating their own rhythm or music in a way.
yeah.
Yeah. So the next we've got, so this one has been like a favorite of mine quite for
Mm.
quite some time, which is If I Fell.
If I fell in love with you, would you promise to be true and help me?
So I think the song starts with this dead tone,
'Cause I've been
which
in love before,
kind of hooks
and I
you
found that
onto
love
the
was
song because you're quite clear. They are quite clear in what they're saying, and that this is what it is. This is what I would expect, and this, can you do this for me? So like that's I think that's how the song is broken
Yeah,
into. And I love the way the music goes, and also there's that melodious part which comes in after this, where if I trusted
yeah.
you, so
So that,
please.
yeah, because I think that's the thing, right? Because it has like this 2-line intro, the song, and I don't think that, because I don't think that intro is repeated. So again, it's quite rare in a song to have that. Usually, you start with like a verse or a chorus, right, and then you repeat, or you have different lyrics, but you repeat the melody. But this sort of starts off with that
If I fell in love with you.
like that, just like the 2-liner, and it's like and then then it just switches to a different song after
Yeah.
the intro. um but that intro hooks you as well, so I think it's again very interesting, like how they've structured the song itself. And also, I guess, coming off the previous song, I think, while the previous one I said was like more like a positive love song, I think this is definitely more like a darker and sort of
Skeptic,
a real love song. And
skeptic.
yeah, skeptical. But it seems to be coming from more of a place of truth. Like, there's there's that doubt.
Honesty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's not just singing about love. There's something more real, I think, in the lyrics here, from Lennon.
hmm
Um,
So
but
Lennon
the
wrote
heart,
this
yeah,
for his marriage, keeping his marriage in
yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
So Lennon wrote the song in that perspective, and
Yeah, I
so
sort of read
according.
about that as well. That like a lot of I think McCartney or some of the others, they said afterwards that they didn't realize at the time, but a lot of these songs
Mhm,
that Lennon was writing, even for like a Hard
mhm,
Day's Night, um, like he was writing it, being, it was reflecting stuff that was going on in his personal life.
mhm.
But obviously back then they were also young, like they didn't really think about it. They kind of just like, oh, that's a good song. Um, but you have some of his like angst coming out in in some of these songs, right?
Yeah, but Lennon called this song my
Yeah,
first attempt at a ballad.
yeah,
It's semi biographical,
mhm,
but not consciously.
yeah.
That I
It's
mean
just
that's
reflecting
that.
his state of
Yeah,
mind. I think more than
it's.
anything, right?
I mean,
Um,
I think what he means is he wrote this like this is like the uh, pure words that flew through him, kind of.
yeah,
So that's what, yeah. And so there's another fact about this, like, so
mhm,
talking about the structure of the song, it's it's been like by music critics, if it's been regarded as like an intriguing structure because
Mm-hmm.
it opens with an intro which contains no musical elements and
Mm-hmm.
that are found in the rest of the song that
That's what I was
follows
saying,
through.
right, about the two lines in the beginning.
And
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's exactly what's been mentioned.
Yeah.
And the body of the song has no real verse or chorus structure,
Mm-hmm.
just two verses that each turn halfway through, like with an unexpected chord.
Yeah.
And then, like, so, and I kind of see that happening in the song
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't really following like any type of like, oh, this is how you like rules, right? This is how you make music. This is what you got to follow. They kind of just went with
This
whatever,
sounds
I
good.
guess. Yeah, or this vibing. um, but yeah, and then you got the obviously you know in the song you got that like 2-part harmony, right? With like McCartney singing like the higher notes, which again works quite well. Almost like signature Beatles having that harmony in the song. But I don't know if you noticed this at the like the 1 minute 43-second mark, um, like the line "was in vain" is like so high that like the voice breaks off as he's singing it.
Yeah.
And I went
At
back
the
and
end,
listened,
right
and
at the end.
yeah, and it like sort of cracks and breaks off.
Yeah.
But I found a live clip on YouTube, and like definitely like I think it was McCartney, like he does sing that line. So I don't know whether like in the live performance they changed the key. I didn't check, or it was just a one-off with the recording. Or something with like when they were making it stereo, like with the tapes or something. But definitely his voice, like as he's saying "vain," he
It
doesn't
does,
finish
yeah.
the word. It just
That
drifts
the
off.
last, I think, like he just, I don't know, maybe goes out of
Ran
breath.
out of breath. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely feels like that. But yeah, there's no guitar solo in this one either, right? It's just that ballad, and then you've got like those couple of notes right at the end, the musical sort of ending of the song. But it doesn't really have any like guitar solo. So again, I guess drifting away from that rock and roll a little bit, more ballady sort of song, a lot darker lyrically than the
Well,
previous
kind
one.
of experimental.
Yeah.
I mean, in their own way, which
Yeah.
is now like pioneer music. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But I was definitely, when I was like listening, I was like, dude, like, because, towards the end, there's that line like, she will cry when she learns we are too. It's like, dude, you're not over her yet. Like, there's definitely that aspect to this song of like trying to get over someone or like finding a relationship almost to like prove to your ex that you can find someone better.
it's like it entails an elaborate story of that that situation game where you tell someone a situation and then ask them what would you do.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of aspect to this.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know, it doesn't, it's like please do get in a relationship with me, love me, I will love you, and I will trust you, blah blah blah. But there's also like this is like a contract job, like that she has to be jealous when she sees that we are too.
Yeah.
So like that's the way I saw it. Like okay, he's playing around with that aspect that I will be loving you, but I also want to show.
I guess
her
there's
that,
what you were saying in the beginning, right? Like the demand in a
demand,
sort of yeah.
in the love or in the relationship.
Yeah.
And then we have a very danceable number, which is "I'm Happy Just to Dance with You."
There is really nothing else I'd rather do, 'cause I'm happy just to dance with you.
I think it's a very ideal 80s 90s prom song. I mean, even now I would, well, let me just say it. I think you should do this at your I think you should do this at your wedding.
Just play this song, right? Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to play it in September. You're going to dance in it. So be prepared.
Nice.
But yeah, it's a very danceable. It's a couple danceable now. It's not like you can do a solo dance on the song.
No, it's definitely a sort of a couple's dancing, that sort of song. And it's definitely like the music and everything, because it's more like fast paced and you're moving.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Also,
it's a fun song.
optimistic with it, like as you mentioned,
Yeah.
the second song, which is like a positive approach to it. So this
Yeah,
has a
definitely.
very
I think
positive vibe coming out of
yeah.
it.
So I think they wrote like Lennon and McCartney, like they wrote this song because I was reading and it was I think basically like that George, at the time he didn't really have the sort of the confidence, let's say, like to compose his own material. So they kind of composed a song for him that they thought would work well for him, which is this like fun, fast paced like. And even the guitaring in this one, it's different from like the way they play it. Like the rhythm is much sort of faster. But yeah, it's an interesting sort of song.
The lyrics of it are just happy, like they're just
Yeah.
happy to dance with her, with you. I don't want to kiss or hold your hand.
Yeah.
So I just want to
I'm
dance
happy.
with you. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm just happy
I'm just
dancing
happy to
with
be.
you.
It's very
I
unique
mean,
in that sense.
that's
the way,
song.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. I don't know. It's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's not like I'm sort of expressing my love. I'm just.
You know what?
Happy dancing with
This
you.
song is actually the opposite of that. This is not demanding anything. He just wants to dance. There's no promises.
Well,
There's no like anything
true.
afterwards. He just wants to have a fun dancing, and that's what it is. But also, I guess again going back to the intro, right? Again, this song it starts off like very strangely in the sense that like you got the two lines which are like sort of not a beginning of a bridge. They're like the end of the bridge, but then he begins the song with those two lines, and then you kick in with the music like just before the chorus. So it's got a unique a unique way of opening a song as well. It's not like opening with a verse or just with a chorus. It opens with like the last two lines, right? Like
Before this dance is through, I think I love you too.
thing like that. Like it starts with
Yeah.
and then it kicks into the chorus or whatever. But it doesn't start off normally. It starts
I
off
think,
mid dance.
like nearly all of their songs are written in a very non-generic way. Right?
Yeah.
Like they've and even Hard Day's Night and the song, they wrote it like I think they wrote and recorded this in a span of 2 or 3 days.
Mhm.
Like made the music,
Yeah.
wrote the music, and in 3 days. Like I think.
Yeah.
So I think that's a Hard Day's Night. That too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I remember reading like in the Hard Day's Night as well, like it was Lennon, or I think it was Lennon, like writing the lyrics on a card on the back of like a taxi or something with a journalist or something like that. He was like, oh, that sounds good. Let's do it like that. So, I mean, all this song seems to be like they just get together, bounce ideas, and then you end up with a Beatles song. Right. But yeah, this
How
is definitely,
perfect.
again, one of the more like positive sounding, like more endearing love songs on the album.
Not a love song, but yeah.
Sort of, yeah.
I mean,
I would put this in the love song category.
yeah, I mean, happy
Yeah.
spending time with you
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
Well, he says, right, before this dance is through, I think I love you too.
Right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I guess the dance is the deal maker or breaker.
Yeah, it's sort of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got again this song is to the lover or for the lover, and the next one is a story which is and I love her.
And if you saw my love, you'd love her too.
It's got like a bit of that Spanish song feeling, like a European Spanish song feeling to that, with the clicks, with the I think it's a
Wait, I think claves.
I don't know.
Are you talking about the bongos?
Is it the bongos, the clicks which are
The clicks are like I think they're called claves or pronounced claves.
okay, but yeah, it's got that Spanish tango feel. Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a tango feel to it.
Yeah, it's like very unique sounding from again like the
From
first
the first
songs,
yeah, first,
tracks, right?
the what we've been through. Yes,
Yeah, and
like,
I think
this is
again,
completely different from that.
like the guitaring is so delicate, like note by note, and So one of the other sort of very unique things in this track is like the song, like it changes like the scale that it's on, or like the key that it's on. So it's most like notable in the, when the guitar solo sort of kicks in, it sort of just goes up a key. But also like during the track, it sort of shifts back and forth between like keys, like as they're singing. Like the notes that they use are like from two different scales almost, and that gives it that strange, like it has that sound, right? Like it doesn't sound like a normal sound, like a song. Like if you try and sing along, it's more easy to be caught out because they change the key and then they change like the melody, like the
Even when
melodies
you're
are on
singing
different
it,
keys.
And I give you all my love.
Yeah.
And I think I'm forgetting the verse, but it goes
And I love her.
Yeah.
like it goes really deep and it goes forward, and like that switch in the voice sort of
Yeah.
gives that it gives a very like a hooked onto this feeling, like
Yeah.
or if you look at it from a perspective where he's just saying, because this is a story which he's explaining, to the audience or to the listeners, and then he explains the situation,
Yeah.
like this is how it is, and I love her.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
bit. So that I really found that to be like an outstanding part of the song. The way they explain the whole situation, and the situation of if they give all their love, what's to happen?
Yeah.
But I love her.
Yeah, I mean, I sort of see again, it's in that love song category, and I guess this is sort of
Yeah.
more about like, like a never-ending, like never dying love,
Yeah.
sort of. But yeah, it's interesting because like the theme-wise, again, yeah, it is in that sort of love song category, but again, so different sounding, from like the first 4 tracks, and it also like ends on like a strong major chord, like going from like a minor almost. It's again very musically interesting, like the way they've put this together. It's very
Even the
almost
verses that
experimental
they
in
sing
nature.
are in this chanting tone. Like it's a quite a chanting tone that I mean you
we should
will
probably point
get
out
lost
this
into
is
it.
one of the tracks written and I think lead writer was McCartney, and also I think McCartney sang this one, right?
Because this
Yeah.
did Lennon sing the part where it goes deep? Because
I think it's
took
McCartney.
the higher pitches.
I think it's McCartney all the way through.
Okay.
In this one. Yeah, because previous one was just George Harrison. And the one before that had both Lennon and McCartney like doing like harmonizing. But I think this one is just McCartney, but might have to double check.
Okay. So we've got the next track then, which is Tell Me Why. So this is one of the first shorter songs that we come across, right?
Yeah, it's fairly quick. I mean,
2 minutes.
I'd say it's 2 minutes, but I mean even the the one I'm happy just to dance with you, that was I think 2 minutes as well, or just about.
Okay.
Yeah.
But this one is I think the first 2 verses explain the song, which is Tell Me Why You Cry and Why You Lie to Me.
Yeah.
And then it's like
you don't have to guess that this one was written by Lennon. Like I'm seeing a theme here.
on his own experiences, I guess.
Like if it's a sort of darker song, it's Lennon.
Asks
I'd say.
and answers the question, like you're crying, but you lied to me, so hence you're crying.
It's more hurtful, it's more direct as well, like blunt in terms of what he's saying. But yeah, so this song, I think it's like the 3 of them Lennon, McCartney, and George Harrison. Like they do like a 3-part harmony at points, and then so it's interesting because like in this track, so generally McCartney is the one who sings the highest notes, but in this one, I think John Lennon's lead vocal part is like higher than like Paul or George's like harmonies, which I think like stands out a little bit in the chorus.
He came in a few songs where in a few songs he puts McCartney in where he's like, your voice was suited better, but then in some songs he's come in also doing what
usually like
McCartney
I think
did.
McCartney, like the key that like McCartney can actually, I think at least at that time, like sing higher notes than Lennon, because Lennon often would take the lower notes, right? Or McCartney would just like yell out the or run out of breath, as we saw in the other track.
That's a good catch, actually. I mean, I've always heard it, but it just like sort of went in passing.
That vein part.
It just he probably, because you can always have another take, right?
So it's
anyway.
not back. So I mean, back then when you're recording on tape, you have to record especially if you're recording it like as a live band, you'd have to record the entire track again. And then what they would sometimes do is sometimes even if it's one person singing, it's overdubbed, so it sounds like there's two people singing. It's just because what they do is you sing once, and maybe there were 1 or 2 points where maybe you didn't quite hit the note, or you didn't have the effect you want to, so you just sing the whole track again, and they just layer the 2 voices. But like recording and mixing was much more challenging in those days, basically.
Yeah, that was non-linear.
You were much more inclined to like leave an
yeah.
issue in and just be like, that's fine, it sounds fine. No one's gonna notice it. Lennon's like losing his mind, like, McCartney, what are you doing?
Well, you've got the first episode airing on Shuffling Notes discussing this.
Exactly. But yeah, I guess coming back to this track, I think this is I mean, a lot of the tracks are fast paced, but this definitely sounds like a louder, like more fun track in certain sense. Like the way they sing it, like, it starts off with like that drum roll, it ends on like that sort of like an open chord. It's definitely more rock and roll, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like this track itself, in terms of the way they've approached the music. Right. But it doesn't have a guitar solo. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. I think again, it's a 2-minute song, so it's just them. It's just
harmonizing.
I think so. These are like Lennon's words, quite literally, naturally. Like as I explained, like the words sort of flowing through him, as he mentions, like it's unconscious. Oh well, not unconscious, but like not conscious. It's not consciously done. But yes, this one does get you to the point. The point that they're trying to make, but they're trying to make it in a unique fashion, which is how I mean, I love the way you're like able to sort of dissect the music, because I was trying to, but as much as I could pick out is what I can speak of. So again, this one was to the person, to the lover. And the next one is again to the lover, which is Can't Buy Me Love.
Can't buy me love, can't buy me love.
It's a very merry song.
I was gonna say, like, following on from like Tell Me Why, it's again like a fun sounding track, but this is definitely more fun in terms of the lyrics as well, I'd say.
But I think this is again, is this Lennon written?
This is McCartney. But I know McCartney's singing lead. I would imagine he's the lead writer in it, because it's I think people have asked him as well about the song. Because I like some people interpreted it as like, being about a prostitute or something, and it was basically like, no, like I want to leave all my songs open to interpretation, but this song is not about that. Like it's more about being materialistic, or like material possessions and stuff, not about that type of buy me love.
So like why I'm questioning this is
Yeah.
because can you like compare this with a Presley song,
Maybe.
right? Because Lennon was a big Presley fan, like Elvis
I
Presley
see.
fan, and
Yeah. So that's
I
why you
mean,
thought
okay, there's
it's yeah.
so that's why I was just thinking, like, because it's got a very Presley vibe to
Yeah.
it with the melodies that flow through in the
Yeah.
voice,
Well, I mean, this
and
was like I think this is
also
like
that dance. It's the same
yeah.
kind of tempo which Presley has in a lot of his songs.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah.
interesting because like this is I think this was like the one of the first singles that didn't use that didn't have the like trademark harmonies in it, like
Mhm.
the previous singles have had. So this was sort of a different single for them to put out as well. But again, it does have a sort of like a blues feeling about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned, like this, what I was talking about, like overdubbing.
Mhm.
Like this is the ones where it's more evident. So like they first recorded it in Paris. This track they were recording like
Yeah.
some other song in some other language, and then they ended up recording this as well. And when they
Mhm.
came back to England, they re-recorded it, and you can actually hear like both the recording. So in the singing you can hear it, but also in the guitar solo. While
Yeah.
there's a loud guitar solo, there's a quieter guitar solo in the background playing at the same time. And they both sort of complement each other. But it's basically like they kind of redid the guitar solo, but they kind of recorded it over the track. Because this is how you did things back in the day. Right.
As complicated as that can be.
Yeah. But that guitar solo part, yeah, it does stand out a little bit. But it's it's interesting like how they record things on a whim. Like, let's just record it. They were in Paris, they had some extra time, like let's record this song. And they kind of went with it. Right. But
No,
also I think
it's a
one thing
good
to add
song.
here, yeah,
Mhm.
just saying like I think the other songs, right, as we were talking, like they're more directly about like romantic love, right? I think this song, there's some references to romantic love, but I think it's almost like you could say it's more platonic as well. Like money can't buy like friendship or like that type of love, like fun, like relationships and stuff like that. Like he mentions diamond ring and stuff, in the song. But it's definitely one of the songs when I heard it, I
But then he
felt
also mentions that it'll be good if you tell me that you don't,
yeah.
because money can't buy me love.
Yeah. So I mean, it's sort of written with like a girl in mind, perhaps, but I think it goes well just as like a song about friends, sort of, kind of like how they use it in the movie, right? When they all like leave and then they run around in the field and stuff.
There's so like getting back to the original idea that we had, that we come back to the working and earning and spending theme, like
Yeah, that's still here.
back to
Yeah,
that, yeah.
very true, very true.
And yeah, do you have anything to add for this song?
No, I think. Well, I'd say this is again one of my favorites, and I guess we'll go over it at the end as well. But it's definitely one of the more cheerful sounding tracks. Probably because also it's McCartney. But I definitely enjoyed this one. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Well, Lennon has peaceful songs, but I guess here I guess this is that side, that's that time in
It's
his
yeah
life where
mindset.
he was just into this, because then he sort of went on with Yoko Ono, and
Mm,
then they started their
yeah.
philosophical ventures. Um, yeah, so after that we've got Anytime at All.
Anytime at all. Anytime at all.
I think this song is just putting himself out there. Like, use me
Mhm.
whenever needed.
Yeah, I'm always there for you. But can I just say this is like the most well, I feel like it's like a very Who sounding song. Like it sounds like something the Who would come up, and I think for me it's because like it's got that it like alternates between like the loud choruses like anytime at all, and then like the verses which sound like more mellow, right?
Yeah, the that chorus sound, the chorus, even the tune that they
Yeah.
take with the
Yeah.
voice as well as the
Yeah.
music, like I could match it.
Yeah,
with
it sort of
a Who
reminded me
song.
of like, it sounded
So I
like
can't
it would be
place.
something the
So
Who.
I can't place a Who song. There is a Who song which has a similar feeling as the
Yeah.
chorus does in this.
I mean, there's quite a few like that because like the choruses, a lot of times they tend to be like loud and short, like short words, like as in short sentences. And then the verses tend to be more mellow and like there's more words in them. And this sort of
Teenage
feels like,
Wasteland.
yeah, I mean, this sort of feels like, yeah, exactly like that. Like you've got, and again, I guess it goes back to that like rock and roll sort of sound, right? This track as well.
That-
Right. But also Lennon. So this song is Lennon, but McCartney sings the second "Anytime at All" because they say it like
Yeah.
3 times because again Lennon couldn't really reach the notes.
Yeah,
So
I
they
think the
had
second one
McCartney.
is the higher one, and then
Yeah.
that's
And
how
then
it
Lennon
jumps
comes
across.
back. Right. But yeah, a more endearing love song again.
Mm. Yeah, I think it's like if we go by like a format or a story for the album, this is the part where he's like kind of he said all that we've gone across, that I love spending time with you.
Yeah.
I uh, tell me why you're crying, and I love her, and stuff like that. But here he just sort of is coming to that last stretch where
Yeah.
I'm gonna be there for you whenever you need me.
Yeah.
Just putting
It's more
in
passive.
like just trying to
It's more
connect
passive. Again, this
the
is not
story.
demanding anything.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's more
Yeah.
passive in that sense, right?
more giving out rather.
Yeah.
Then we've got the next track, which is "I'll Cry Instead."
I get myself locked up today, but I can't, so I cry instead.
So there's a part in the song which there's a verse of like a few verses, which is I've got a chip on my shoulder that's bigger than my feet. I can't talk to people that I meet. If I could see you now, I'd try to make you sad somehow, but I can't, so I'll cry instead. So how does he mean? Because the theme of the song I think is that I am unable to express, or I am unable to be with you, so
Yeah.
I can't cry in front of people, so I'm just gonna lock myself and cry. But why would he say I try to make you sad somehow?
So
'Cause
I
it's a
think
love
it's
song again.
Yeah, so that's the thing. I don't think so. There's a couple of references to love, right? Like I lost my girl and a few others, but like I think the song is very much about he's like at least it's so. Firstly, I think this song is layered. Like it's got the face value is not what the song is about. And I think an example of that is like what you're mentioning, and it's sort of about like not being able to publicly say what you're going through or even like discuss with your friends or your loved one, like you're going through it alone, like locked up, and because of that you're turned like hurtful or resentful. And a good example of that is, he says, but I'll come back again someday. And when I do, you'd better hide all the girls. I'm going to break their hearts all around the world. Yes, I'm going to break them in two and show you what your loving man can do. So obviously you can take it as, oh, he's a playboy, he's going to come out. But I think that he's talking about disappointing his fans. And I think that's what he's saying. If he comes out and if he becomes who he is, as opposed to who he's pretending to be, he's going to break his fans, there was a large portion were girls, but he's going to break his fans' hearts. And he's going to disappoint them. And I think that's what this song, I think, is about. It's about that sort of pressure and like frustration that Lennon might have been feeling at that point, which he couldn't necessarily express directly. And so he hid it behind a love song in a certain sense, but it's not really a love song, right?
So that's a good perspective.
Yeah, I
Because
kind of went deep.
I
Yeah,
was taking in a literal sense, but
yeah,
yeah, that
yeah. I mean, it's
it's
this.
because if this is Lennon written, it's
Yeah,
definitely layered. It's
yeah,
got to be layered.
yeah. And the funniest thing is like it's the music again is cheerful and fast,
Mhm.
and it's like that Rick and Morty episode, where I don't know if you want to remember, but Rick, I can't remember, something happened, and Rick writes a song. It's Little Rick, like the cool one. And it's like the actual Rick trying to break out of him.
Yeah.
And so in the song is like, is anybody listening to me? Like
Is anybody listening? Can anyone understand? Stop looking at me like that and actually help me. Help.
he literally says it, and Morty and
I'm
it's
dying in a bed in a garage.
yeah, exactly. This is what this song actually feels like. That clip, like to a certain level, where it's the music is cheerful, and it sounds like if you're just listening passively, like he's singing about some girl or something. But I think he's singing about something much deeper. And I guess another indication of that is the song was supposed to be used, where they break out of the studio and they run away to the fields. But the director, Dick Lester, he was like, the song is too like sad, I can't use it. And so he used Can't Buy Me Love instead. But I think it's a very like one of the more layered songs in this
Also
album.
this, I mean, like since I think, Tell Me Why, they've been following a rock
Yeah.
and roll theme,
Yeah.
which went through Can't Buy Me Love, Anytime at All,
Yeah.
and follows through in I'll Cry Instead. Like it's got the same tempo, same pace to the
Yeah.
songs.
Yeah, I mean, I guess having said that, I still feel like this one has like a more of like a country feel to it, like the way that the sound is. Like I can imagine like a country version of this. Like you could cover it, you could make a cover which would be like a country version. But
You
there's
can make it
definitely,
fun.
I think, there's like that element of a country song. Like if you listen to it with that in mind, I think you might notice it.
Yeah, but you can make a cover, so.
Country, yeah.
But yeah, I really like the music in I'll Cry Instead.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Talking about what he's talking about, and even taking it in the literal sense, taking it in a perspective that you mentioned. It's like it's very appealing that
Yeah.
to think of it or to do it in that way that
Yeah.
they've done it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so well, then we've got things we said today.
Then I will remember things we said today.
It's like promises we make which are difficult to keep, but uh, um, like okay, in the most difficult of times, let's remember today when you're saying this to me, and let's refresh and get back, snap
Yeah.
back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think very much. I think so. This song is written, sang by McCartney, and I think McCartney was the lead writer as well.
Okay.
So one of the three songs by McCartney, and I think he's described it as like future nostalgia, or like nostalgic about the moment we're living in now, like projecting yourself in the future,
Yeah,
and then being
pretty much.
nostalgic about it, right?
Yeah.
Which is sort of what you just said, right? That's sort of how in the sense that he's also described it. So again, it's a unique concept of a song in terms of the lyrics, but then even musically, this song, like they shift between like, a major and a minor scale. To your
And
point,
they
I think the
also sort
lyrics,
of
yeah,
evolve. The music evolves as we go further. Like they add
yeah,
more elements to the music, and
yeah, it grows, right? And
I
like
think
there's
it's
the
like there are parts where
Yeah.
both Lennon and McCartney are singing together. Like it comes in between and then goes like it's a there are bits where they sing together, and I think I
Yeah.
read somewhere that they sang in the same mic.
Yeah, to have that like
that
harmony,
effect.
that
Yeah.
effect. But it's also like, because you got the scales changing between like major and minor, and then I think the lyrics also like shift between like first person and third person, and like future tense and stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's quite a concept
Yeah.
by itself of what they want to do, but they don't just write a song about future nostalgia. They also like make it unique, like musically, and as well as like the way the lyrics shift, like the perspective shifts. So it's again experimental in that way, although it sounds very well polished and very well done, right?
It's a perfect way to fix things. In your most difficult
Yeah.
times, like you just snap back, remember to the day we promised, because that's
Yeah.
a lot of time that happens in a fight.
Mhm.
You just I mean, in general, it's
Yeah.
a life tip 101. It's like whenever you fighting, say after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, when it's gotten
Mhm.
intense to the point of you
Mhm.
wanting to raise your voice, or your voice being raised at you.
Mhm.
So just ask a question: what is the fight about?
Yeah.
And if there's an answer, there's an answer. If there isn't,
Yeah.
to
It's about
snap
getting
back to
some
that point.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about getting some perspective, I think, right? Which is like what he's sort of saying in this song. Um, but yeah, it is. I guess
But
again,
it's a
it's
promise that we're making, so
yeah,
let's plan to keep it, and
yeah,
let's
mm,
make this a cherishable moment that
yeah,
we'll always be
yeah,
coming back to. And again, the music is in this. The music is quite um, um, seamlessly rhythmic. If
hmm,
like the lyrics basically follow each other without many
hmm,
breaks, while in other songs there are breaks after
yeah,
2 lines or 3 lines, and then
yeah,
there's a break. Even though the the paragraph doesn't change, but
hmm,
it's like there's a break, there's an interlude or something in between.
yeah.
Yeah. So then we've got when I get home. I think it's a song about uh, this spending time with someone in a, well, like in a bar maybe, or a pub, and that's where you're spending time with someone, but you enjoying your time with them, but then you're also reminding yourself that I need to get home because I have to hold her tight, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna love her till the
Interesting.
cows
Yeah,
come home. I
yeah,
you know that kind of, like,
yeah.
I love her more when I walk out that door, like
Hmm.
that kind of stuff playing out. But
Interesting. Yeah.
it's
Because
just
the
like
way I was thinking more of
Mhm.
like coming back from office or something. Like he's really looking, or in their case, coming back from a tour, but like he's really looking forward to like getting home to his baby.
But isn't there's a part, like, doesn't he say in between that um I'm something of their conversation, like there's
Hmm.
what was it, because he's mentioning her is the figure at home,
Yeah.
while I think there's a you in there once or twice, which I
Hmm.
thought to be for the girl in the bar or pub or wherever.
Ah, I see. What, like you mean like he's talking to another girl, but he wants to go
Yeah.
home.
But this song
Yeah.
isn't like he's not saying it to the girl, but he's like reminding himself.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Because
mean, he said like I got no time for triviality. I got a girl
yeah,
who's waiting home for me tonight. Um, but yeah, I just saw it in a way of like he's really looking forward to like get home. Like he doesn't want to, you know, uh,
yeah,
I
he's
got no
wanting to
business
get
being
home,
here with
but
you.
he's
Yeah,
sort of getting
yeah.
engrossed in this other
Other,
matter.
yeah. It's an interesting way to put it. Yeah.
But yeah,
But yeah, I think
musically, I
it
think
does
this is
follow on that
again a rock and roll.
hard day's night theme, right?
Hmm. Quite similar, yeah.
Yeah.
With the with voices sort of coming together and singing the song,
Hmm.
which was in Hard Day's Night, and then
Yeah.
it's been like single voices which start the
Mhm.
song while there are those harmony parts where Lennon and McCartney sing together
Yeah.
and stuff. But
Yeah.
this
And
one
again,
is
this
like
is
just
yeah.
all of them coming together singing, and the same
Yeah.
way
And
as Hard Day's Night.
and I think the sound again is more sort of your sort of rock and roll style music, right?
Hmm. Yeah, so we've then got You Can't Do That.
Because I told you before, oh, you can't do that.
So there's the metal banging that there is in the song. Uh, I so in my perspective, I think that's like trying to grab attention because he's saying something important. Because
Mhm.
I have something that will cause you pain, but if I see you talking to that man again, so
Yeah.
it's got that pay attention to me because
Yeah.
and then there's of course like that.
I think it goes with like the aggressiveness of the lyrics a little bit.
it
Music.
it does become
Yeah.
aggressive, like even with the lyrics
Yeah.
and the music, like both become aggressive as
Yeah.
we move forward. And
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the again like in terms of like the song, it's a bit more it's like a harsher song, right? Like more direct. But I guess it's all about at the end of the day, it's capturing I guess that feeling, like especially in the more like toxic relationships, that obsessiveness, and it sort of captures that, right, in terms of like obviously taking it to the extreme.
right.
Um, but yeah, I guess again Lennon sort of diving into his like demons and getting some subconsciously getting some writing done. Um, but yeah, also I think Lennon composed and played the guitar solo. When he repeats like "you can't do that" and then there's like the guitar playing in the background.
Hmm.
I believe it's Lennon who played it, who composed it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think there are like three guitarists in the band, right?
Well, it also depends. Like, yeah.
There's Paul, Lennon, and George Harrison.
Yeah. So George is generally like the lead
Yeah.
guitarist, while Paul does the bass, right?
Yeah, they came to India and
yeah.
like George Harrison learned the sitar and stuff, and they've got it in one of their albums,
Yeah.
which we'll get to.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a story. Like I have insights to that story.
Oh, nice. Exclusive.
Exclusive insight, like only on Shuffling Notes. You won't find this anywhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, then so You Can't Do That is like I mean, it's again, as we followed themes like love request, situation, a story. This is like, watch out because I'm just like, I mean, again, like, tell me why you cry
Yeah.
and like why you lie to me. So it's like following that a similar theme, but like a more aggressive way, as you put it.
Yeah, I think it's more controlling, and it's not like sugar coated or anything. It's very direct, right? Like, it's again, I guess it's about capturing that feeling of like that sort of relationship, which is just like toxic.
But that's Lennon's life. Well, not really, but yeah. So we've got the final track, which so the final track is with the one that released in '65 in the US. I'll be back.
If you break my heart, I'll go, but I'll be back again.
This song is like being crystal clear, like being the last song of the album and following the themes we've followed. Like it's all different themes in a love perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
I took this as a love perspective as well, which and he's just being clear, like I know, like, things fucked up, but um, I'll be back again because I
Yeah.
mean that's the love I have for you, and I'll be back again.
It's like
That's
he's just accepted it from coming back from, the previous tracks. Like he's accepted it. Whatever happens, he's gonna end up going back to her anyway. And he's
yeah.
kind of like, a bit like Any Time at All, but he's kind of like, I'll be back again. Basically, it's sort of giving up, trying to move on
Yeah, it's
or do
so
something different.
some tidbits about the
Yeah.
track. So John Lennon created this song around the chords of Del Shannon's "Runaway." "Runaway"
Mm-hmm.
is um, I
It
haven't
took
heard that
inspiration.
song.
Yeah.
So um, so this was credited to both Lennon and McCartney, but it was mostly by Lennon.
I think all
And
the tracks on this album are officially credited Lennon McCartney.
like all of them, like
Yeah.
all of them completely.
All 13 are credited Lennon McCartney, but then obviously some songs Lennon was like the lead, while some were like
And
McCartney, or
similarly,
almost
McCartney
completely
was
did
the
it.
lead,
Yeah.
And so John Lennon's original intent for this song was for it to be a waltz, and then like a demo of this was recorded in the last session of the album recording, and this
Yeah.
was done in a similar tone. The demo was done in a similar tone to "Hard Day's Night," but yeah, so I think I would be able to sort of draw parallels to the songs, but I can't imagine the song to be a waltz as I don't know, it
No,
could have been.
it's very interesting as well because, like, again, I think musically you got the key shifts, like major, minor. It's all over the place. But also, like, is there a chorus? Because the song kind of just keeps going. Like, either it's like you have a verse, like the way that's structured, it's like either you can take it as like a verse, a bridge, a verse, a bridge, a verse, or I guess instead of the verse, you could call it the chorus itself. But then it's very strangely like put together. Again, it's not your normal like verse, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus, or however
Right.
you want to do it. It's yeah, it's that structure. It's like if you're listening to it, is there really a chorus, or like if that's
I
the
don't think
chorus,
there's a
then what's the
chorus.
verse? Yeah.
I think
and then
every time it's just. I think it's verses ending in the same in the same words, which is "I'll be back again."
Yeah,
'Cause,
yeah, sort of.
I mean, it also kind of makes
it's
the
like
point,
poetry. Yeah.
right?
It's like, yeah, it's like but also like it's the ending as well, right? Like the audio, it sort of kind of just fades out, but it kind of fades out. I think it's like mid stanza, so like he doesn't complete
I'll
what
be
he's
back,
saying.
and that's when it
Yeah, and it kind of just fades out. So it's very interestingly
I
like
think something.
put together, but it's definitely, I guess, again, a slightly darker in terms of tone, right? In terms of what it's singing about, it's not about having fun or something. It's like that, what we were just saying, like accepting yourself in a toxic
I
relationship
think
of sorts.
I can sort of what I have this the conclusion for this track is that this concludes the album very well, because it's been a hard day's night and he'll be back home again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or back to the
Yeah.
safe haven again.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you
of
put it that way, because also if you think about it musically, it's so like, because the Hard Day's Night starts with all the excitement. It's like fast paced. You got like you got like the clappers and the cowbell, and like the sound is like, it's very fast and it's cheerful, but you end on like such a mellow sounding melody, like which
Relatively
is slower.
mellow, yeah.
It's like
it's still rock and
got
roll,
a lot of
but
minor
it's-
key in there.
Yeah.
It's definitely like sadder sounding, or like, and so it's interesting that you start there and you end here, but like sort of the content is about relationships and I guess coming back to them.
and how I think it's like a mix, not a mix, it's like a it's basically something taking out of you putting across how you balance your
Yeah.
love and work life,
Yeah.
because I mean, a lot of songs sort of speak
Yeah.
of that, and
Yeah.
then they also go in the earnings and spendings and balancing the love life, because uh, again, that the song, the one before this, where what was the song name for this?
Which one? You can't do that when I get home.
You can't do that. So
Yeah.
it's basically that he's as you mentioned, from the perspective that you mentioned, he's coming back from work,
Hmm.
so that sort of fits the theme again. And
Yeah.
then again, like at the end, he's going back home
Yeah.
from a hard day's night.
Yeah, I think it's and the perspective I guess is that work, that was the period where they started sort of touring and they became so mainstream and they were just like constantly busy. And you mentioned in the beginning of this video, right? Like recording all these albums and the movie in that like 2 year or whatever
Yeah.
time span. So they're super busy and they have a limited time to get home and like spend time, with their loved ones. And so I think all of that comes through. And that's why I guess the title of the album makes so much sense as well, right?
I think this is this is quite a representational album of their life at the time.
Yeah, like it's more
Yeah.
personal than it seems to be on face value. Like
Yeah,
if you were just
the
listening to
good
it in
songs,
passing,
it's good music, good songs, but
Yeah.
it's
It's pop
literally
music,
about it's literally about their life in that
Yeah.
time, at the time. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's captured that, right? And even like as I was saying in the interviews, like they were not aware that that's sort of happening when
Mhm.
they were writing this. To your point as well, like not consciously trying to do
Yeah.
it. But it kind of just reflected what they were going through. I guess they weren't accepting it to themselves. I feel like Lennon was definitely more far ahead in terms of he probably has realized that this is happening and these are things that he's facing, like more sort of introspective. Because again, there's so many of his songs this sort of drawback, and I guess it brings me to that conclusion as well. I think I guess the McCartney tracks are definitely the more cheerful in a certain sense, or happier, while Lennon's have more sort of reality in them.
Layered
But I
realities.
think, but I think it's a great album because you've got such a different variety of different types of music, different song structures, and even different instruments. If you think about like the harmonica and the bongos and the cowbell and all of that, the 12-string guitar, like it plays around with sound
And good
quite a
themes
bit.
of the lyrics, like good themes that they different themes as
Yeah,
that future perspective,
yeah,
future nostalgia,
things we said today. Yeah,
and then like right,
yeah,
and understanding the context that they're writing this while traveling or while,
yeah.
I don't know, like however
Yeah,
they
they're
wrote
like out
it
to
and
record a
recorded it.
different
As
song
you
and they start
mentioned, like they
writing
were in
this.
Paris
Yeah,
and they had free time. They
Yeah.
were just like,
yeah.
let's jam.
Recorded that. Yeah,
And it worked out.
yeah. And I think there's a lot of collaboration as well between them. I think, and I guess that's one of the reasons why all the tracks are titled like Lennon McCartney rather than individually. Because I think even the tracks which we know that Lennon was mainly sort of leading, I'm sure there was like a lot of sort of back and forth and planning of things like that because they were a band at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess one person as well to sort of mention that we didn't really mention was the George Martin, who sort of produced, but he also does like a lot of
George
piano
Martin,
and stuff. Yeah, but he had a big influence on this album, especially like a lot
George
of
Martin
Beatles
also,
albums.
I think I read that he didn't.
The fifth Beatle.
Sorry.
The fifth Beatle.
I
He's been
don't, I
called.
can't,
Yeah.
yeah, I can correctly recall. But I think it was
Mhm.
something like he wasn't very aware with the Beatles' music and how they were working, their working style.
Yeah.
But there was something that it was about the influence. Like
Yeah.
it was something more specific, as you mentioned. Like
Yeah, no, he
what
definitely helped
influenced?
them
Yeah.
quite a lot with like the arrangements and like, because
Mhm.
you know, yeah, I mean, I not that I was there obviously, but I could imagine the Beatles like these guys just having fun and they're trying to just create music, but you still need someone who's more grown up who can like, you know, it's recording a track is still difficult, making it
Yeah.
sound good and polished is difficult, and like
For
getting
these,
things in
especially for
order.
these kids
Yeah.
getting out now.
But I think musically as well, like George Martin, like he contributed quite a bit in terms of how the tracks sound,
Mhm.
and what they've come out to be.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's all
that
from me.
that covers a hard day's night.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, however it's to be taken, but it, yeah, for us creatives, it does get a busy hard day's night, or a a hard day's night, just
yeah.
however you want to take it. But it's this this
That's what I'm
perspective
gonna
of
call all nighters from now on.
with this perspective of putting things in terms of going back home to your loved one, and uh, also balancing your life and work equations, and um,
Mhm.
um, like giving chances, taking chances, um, making plans to get my ex jealous.
Mhm.
Everything entailing between, like as you mentioned, it's a very good mix of things coming together, and
Yeah,
very different sounds, different music, experimental lyric formats and stuff.
yeah. It's got me excited to like yeah, well, like dive deep into like other Beatles albums in the future, because I've never had like this was my first experience of just listening to a whole Beatles album. But now I'm more intrigued to like go back and listen to some other ones as well.
I'm glad to know that, Lois. But yeah, so that covers a hard day's night, and thank you for tuning in.
Hoje tive de ser mais beijou, doido, valeu a